Okay, welcome to the first public on the channel project update. I have been doing these behind the paywall on my Patreon and on YouTube membership. This is basically where I just go over what projects I've been working on in the week and what progress I've made. Though really it's not so much the week as every 2 weeks. And I think what I'll be doing is that while those will stay exclusive behind a paywall, here on the channel, I'm always working on projects, even if I'm not making videos about them. So for every month that goes by that I don't make a video, I will release one of these and just let you guys know what I'm working on. And wherever I am at the process with it and if I've made any progress. What you are looking at here is one of what I'm calling my crruit zoots. It is a crruit, or crrutox, I believe. It's just a big crruit guy who has taken a Tau power suit and made it into an exoskeleton. The kind of lore behind these is very vague, but in my head is just kind of like they're on a planet where the suits are all kind of breaking down and they haven't been resupplied for a while. So as they break down, they just use them as components for crruit, like exoskeletons and stuff. Okay, so this is, if you've been watching behind the paywall, which none of you have, this is, don't worry about it. This is a new base that I have made for him in the last month. I really wanted something that kind of elevated him from just the black standard base. This is something I think the Squidmar guys talk about how it always looks better to have your model a little higher than just the base. It gives it more weight. And in this case, I wanted to craft like a whole little scene, essentially, of him having slaughtered these Marines, or at least this being a battlefield where some Marines were slaughtered. It had originally started with just using this, which is a destroyed dreadnought from some Horus Heresy kit as a base, and then it just kind of kept building from there. You can kind of see here that this is the dreadnought's here and his arm is going to be here. I'm going to crack this open to put in some more electronic-y bits. And then this guy is partly, I think this is from the medic kit. I don't remember. It's one of the downed Marines. There's like 3 kits with downed Marines. And then the head specifically and the arm, I should get something I can actually point with. So the head and the arm are from a third-party manufacturing company place that does like wounded Marines. And I just like that. I've been playing around with painting and using blood effects, and I really love using blood effects. And so I'm trying to add more and more elements that can be used using blood paint on in all of my projects so far, because it always looks so good. So yeah, and then this guy, I also, since the last time I updated y'all, and again, I don't know who I'm speaking to here, about him, I have given him, I can't call it a half tabard, I guess, but I guess a loincloth. I just don't like that word. I don't know why. Like this, I originally had it going this way in the breeze, or in the wind, and because it was kind of like, there was a lot, I don't know. It just didn't look as heroic as the wind going this way. I always tried to make the wind going towards their enemy opposed because it's a little bit different, but it always looks better if they're standing in opposition of the wind. And for his actual rocket launcher here, I originally had this as the railgun to the broadside. That's what I should say is this originally was a broadside kit. That's where the legs are from. That's where the backpack is from, though I fused it with a few other, one of the reactors from a Tau commander, I think. And that's where the missile pod is from. The broadside comes with 2. I had originally had it as the railgun for the of the broadside, but I liked this better. It looks cooler. It looks chunkier. It doesn't stick out as much. And to be honest, I have from the same company that made these Space Marine casualties. They make like FX kind of looks. So like they have 3D prints of like rockets and smoke coming out from this gun specifically. And so I want to be able to just pop those on there for people who could paint it that way, which I can't. But basically, I just added, this is from the Space Marine not tactical kit, the heavy weapons kit. They have a guy with a backpack, and I liked that as like a little explanation of how they're loaded in, even though it doesn't totally make sense, but just go with it. And then I gave it a little bit of a tank under here. This is from a Patau Flamer infantry, or not infantry, but one of their like flame guns. And then this is from a mech kit, the Cataphren backpacks, I think. It's supposed to look like it's clamping around his forearm, and I've tried this twice and it doesn't look like it, so I'm going to try it one more time. I think I need to sculpt a little bit more on the forearms here to really make it look like this is holding it in place or latching on, because right now it just doesn't. I don't quite know how I'm going to fix that. I keep having problems with it. But that is not all I did. So I had an idea. These are all magnetized, by the way, so I can take them on and off at will. And basically, I had an idea for another Tau exoskeleton with a different pose and weapon. But what I was realizing as I was doing it is there's no reason I couldn't just make this guy do it. His stance is dynamic enough that I think it still works. And so this is what I am talking about. Yeah, I took that railgun from the broadside and I put it on his shoulder, kind of like a bazooka or a missile launcher. So there's a lot of components that go into this. The first is that this is the upside down power cable to a Tau commander, or not power cable, power reactor to a Tau commander. You can see I've magnetized all of this. This is, again, the railgun, but I've added a lot of things. This here is an arm from the Dreadnoughts kit. I've been liking using it a lot because it has like this very piston-y feel. Though in this case, this actually feels more like cables or tubes. And, you know, I'll talk about that in a minute. But I like this here. It kind of looks like an ammo drum almost, or a power drum. Obviously, this part is almost completely constructed. This is just a greeble from somewhere, and this is like one of their sights or something like that. But I really like how this looks as a pose. It looks really, really cool. It makes him look very dynamic. And it actually opens up his body quite a lot too. What I'm planning on doing is maybe having some cables running from his eye to this, which is a like binocular, or sights, I think is what they're called. I don't know why I'm in so much trouble with that. But running from here to here, like he's directly connected in, which I like. One problem I was having with him though is that what is his other arm supposed to be doing? It doesn't make a ton of sense. I didn't really want it moving over to hold this because it felt like it was going to close him up too much. So I decided to kind of try to keep a very strong silhouette by having his other arm, the magnet came off, which is why I tried to toss it there and it didn't work. His other arm kind of open like this. Now right now it looks pretty stiff because this forearm is too long. This is not actually a Kroot arm. This is a Demon Prince from the very old derpy looking Demon Prince kit, but the proportions are more or less correct. I'll just add some like quills to the elbow. But right now it goes like this, like here, and I'm going to probably make this shorter and have him holding like a knife in a backhand, or maybe give him a little bit of a mechanical hand. I was thinking like the one from the prosthetic from Furiosa in Fury Road. But that would be kind of like a cool thing to have here. And kind of just keeps him open, makes him look like he's almost like roaring a bit, like come at me. I needed to do some work here because right now his hand looks weirdly limp. But what can you do? Well, you can do some stuff. I'll have to sculpt it better. And then I need to sculpt here. But yeah, that's where and there's obviously more work to do, but this is where he's at for right now. And I think he's looking pretty good. I like having two different weapon options for him. I may actually even give him a third. I have some other ideas for cool poses for the Kroot to be doing. And to be honest, I might as well just keep reusing the same legs. That way I don't have to come up with new ways of making everything fit together. I can just keep adding them on. And then who knows, maybe you can just do a very complicated... This is kind of awesome. Never mind. Maybe we'll do this. This is the other Kroot I have been working on. Okay, so what's happening here is this is a Ghostkeel power suit, or Kroot suit, as I like to call them. that I wanted to be less exoskeleton and more guy using a mech kind of a feeling. Like where with the other one, it's just like the legs on the side really keeping him, really enhancing him. Here it's more full level, his legs aren't going to extend, his feet aren't going to extend all the way to the feet, but he's like it's kind of the next step of heavy armoredness, so to speak. And I have done a lot since the last time I showed this off on the channel. So first I redid his arm from where it was last time. I'm using the forearm from the broadside here as his bicep now. This is one of the pulse cannon or whatever it's called that comes with the kit. I'm also using another dreadnought, as you can see, piston elbow here, just to make it look like it's kind of powered by the suit. You want to give that exoskeleton look. I have also given him his big jetpack. It kind of looks huge and a little dumb right now. Part of it is because it comes usually with weapon mounts on the side, and without them, it just looks like it's sticking out all the way. But I wanted to get used to the silhouette so that I don't get as alarmed when I just add it on and all of a sudden it destroys what I thought was a really cool model. Like, you kind of need to get used to these things. But I made it detachable both because it's a really big thing and also because then I can change it if I want to. I can give myself other options. The legs are what I've done probably the most work on. So what's happening here is that his original Kroot's legs were not large enough. They're really hilariously tiny. So I'm using ones from, I think, Bastarian Miniatures a while ago. I got a kit and I've just been using those legs because they're about the same size. That's also the legs that I was using for the last Kroot. They look more or less okay if you bulk them up in certain key places. But it took me forever to figure out how the mechanism of this was supposed to work, of his legs, because originally I had his legs on the inside, kind of like with just this part on the outside, or the mech part on the outside, and that looked kind of dumb. Now I've got it so his leg is kind of almost going through it, like it's two-part, and then it'll come to one part, and then his foot is just fit in there where it'll become two-part again, kind of hollow. And I think this kind of works. This makes sense. I wanted to keep at least one leg with muscle, because that proves that it's not just a robot. There are legs in there, and I think this makes a lot of sense. I actually had to move this knee backward because he was looking really long-legged. It was originally more up here, so now it's more, and I like how that looks more. It looks a little bit more like he's actually piloting this thing and moving it and manipulating it, not just wearing it, because he's not wearing it in the way the last guy was wearing his. But that being said, that was too much work. So for this one, I just hit it. There's just an armor plate and some ammo over where his leg would be. And that's because in the final pose, you're actually not going to be able to see it. This is the final pose. I didn't say it because I thought I had said it previously. But he's got like an anime landing pose where there's gonna be dirt coming up, because like rising up on his base from where he just landed, like ready to kill shit, or maybe he's going to be landing on a big tyrannid creature and crushing it. Those are the two bases I'm thinking of. But basically, you're not even really going to be able to see his leg very well, the thigh portion. I did, though, do the shin portion pretty much the same way. And I also made it detachable, because if I ever want to cast this guy, that's going to be such a pain to cast in this direction. It'd be easier just if I make this detachable from the beginning. The main thing I need to do with him now is I need to add in a few more mechanical joints here. This is, again, that one dreadnought arm I'm just really fond of using. It looks cool. It looks grungy. I'm trying to balance the elements so that, because the thing is, these are scavenged mech armor, right, from the Tau, but I don't want it to look scavenged in the slapdash way that orcs like scavenge things and then consume them and put all kinds of like little decals and stuff on them, and teeth and whatnot, and like just completely gut them. In this case, I wanted it to be like, okay, they're reusing these old mechs. Some of the machinery has broken down and they've needed to add things in to make them compatible as a suit versus just a guy piloting it. And so that's a little hard to add. So one thing here is that this is the back actually of a drone head. But I liked how this looks in terms of it looks kind of techy for a joint instead of just being a circle, which kind of looks more generic. This looks more techy and more of the Tau kind of sophisticated look aesthetic. But it's kind of a bit of a tough thing because one thing is that so if you look on this guy's right, he has reused a Tau pauldron as a handguard, and I thought that was okay. And then over here, he's using an orc piece. This is from an orc gun, I think, as his trigger, because these are things that would have to be added to the mech, right, to make it compatible with a crruit. But I didn't want it to just be full-on scavenge mode where they're just, where it doesn't even look like it was originally. I don't know. I didn't want it to look orc. The other thing I'm having a lot of trouble with is trying to figure out what looks like it's clamping down to keep them in. I ended up using this, which I'll need to cover in this part here, but to make it look like the suit is clamping down and keeping him in place, and it's not just like inertia. And yeah, I mean, I think he's turning out okay. I don't think he's the worst. There's still a lot of work to be done. I think, unfortunately, his arm here, I need to work on it. I was going to make him a big, like, kind of power fist of some kind, but I haven't quite figured out how, because, again, he's supposed to be hitting the ground like this. The original Ghostkeel has, like, a sensor arm, so maybe I'll just use that, but that seems a little lame. But for right now, I think he's telling enough of the story as is, so I'm pretty happy with how he is. I realize I tend to kind of drone on when I'm doing these. It is not quite as focused. But yeah, so I have some more projects I'm going to be showing off. I have a rat ogre that I'll be talking about. You get to see him just for a second. And a few others. Those will be exclusive on my Patreon and on the YouTube memberships. It's pretty cheap. I think it's like $2 or $3 a month, and really that helps me. I make almost no ad revenue from these videos. They're too short or whatever. The YouTube algorithm is not happy with them. So even if you just like one of you signs up from this, that will make me more money than I normally would from this video. What do you guys think of this format, though? Do you like seeing this? Do you feel like it's going to spoil the final video when it eventually comes out? Are you just happy that any content is coming out on the channel? Let me know. Leave me a comment, and we'll see if we do this again. All right. I'll talk to you all in the exclusive video or next time I upload.